Hello, everybody. We're going to get started with our webinar in just a few minutes. So, welcome, get settled, and we'll get started in just a second. Stand by. All right, we still got some couple of people coming in. We're going to get started in just a second. Welcome, everybody who's already joined, and we're just going to get started in just a minute. Okay, well, it's the top of the hour. I would like to welcome everybody to our webinar today. This is going to be an action-packed 30 minutes. We have so much to cover and never enough time, but hopefully we're going to be able to show you guys some stuff, teach you some things you didn't know, and maybe get you a little bit more interested in how we can use AI to tackle knowledge management. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right. Uh, today's webinar is about banking's forever problem, which is knowledge management, capture, and analytics. We call it the forever problem because any organization, bank, financial institution, or anyone else under the sun has the constant problem of curating their institutional knowledge so that their employees can get their jobs done and their customers can get what they need when they need it. So, really quick, who am I? My name's Pete Lunenfeld. I am the founder and CEO of Current Wave AI. I have been in this software game for over 30 years with lots of experience bringing products to market. I have a couple AI patents to my name. You guys don't care that much about my resume, I understand. But what I do want you to know is that Current Wave has been around since 2023, so just a little over 2 years now. And we have 35 financial institutions that are currently using our service to tackle this knowledge management monster. And if you take anything away from today, I want you to think about AI the way I think of AI. Now, I'm a guy who owns an AI software company, so this is going to sound kind of funny, but AI is just a tool to get a job done. A lot of folks are, ooh, AI, or want to spend time teaching you why AI is important or how AI works. You shouldn't care. I barely care, and I do this for a living. We just want to know that AI is the newest, shiniest tool in the toolbox, but that's all it is a tool in the toolbox. It just happens to be really well suited to solve this problem that we all have, which is managing our institutional knowledge. So, if I was to just sum up what is knowledge management, I think the answer is to give your organization operational control over your institutional knowledge. All right, well, that's kind of a mouthful, but what do I mean by that? We tend to see knowledge in an organization in four legs of a chair, if you will. Each leg is required, or else you and the chair tip over. So the first leg is what we call knowledge capture. And simply put, that's getting all of the information that's in your employees' brains into a trusted resource so other employees in your organization can get at that data when they need it. So we're talking about your policies and your procedures and your processes. We need to have, for our organization to stay healthy, a standard way to get this institutional knowledge usable, auditable, and scalable. That's really the trick. So if you're like most organizations we talk to, you probably already have something in place to capture this knowledge. It could be as complex as a custom-built knowledge base. By the way, what we're talking about today is not a knowledge base. This is something completely different. But you might be using SharePoint, or you might be using a bunch of PDFs in shared network drives, or God forbid, things are still in binders behind the teller line in a giant book. But you probably already have some kind of knowledge captured. But what we want to do is bring on all of these other tools to really make that knowledge sing. So most of our financial institution clients do a pretty good job of the knowledge capture. They're not great at it, but they do a pretty good job, meaning you probably already have your policies and procedures and your processes and your job aids and your training materials somewhere shareable. How well shareable is a different question. So that brings us to number two here, which is knowledge retrieval. And this is where most of our customers really struggle, which is how effortless and fast is it for your employees and your customers to find what they need when they need it? Said in a more kind of businessy way, uh, how can we reduce the time to get a question answered? And can we eliminate the dependency on tribal knowledge, right? If you guys have an organization that's more than two people big, you start to worry about how do people, for example, in different branches answer the same question? Are they consistent, right? Um, are those answers reliable? Are they accurate? Right. So being able to tackle this knowledge retrieval part is why Current Wave created this knowledge management product in the first place, because this is where most people struggle. So if we can, if nothing else, give you a tool where your employees on the front lines, meaning the contact center, people in a branch, people on the lending team, can find what they need when they need it, like meaning in a second, we've won, right? It's probably worth the squeeze right there. But what we've learned as we've started to roll this out over multiple organizations is there's a lot more gain to be had. And the next big one is what we call knowledge health, which is, do you have the ability now, without a human making it a project, to analyze the information in your knowledge base to discover what knowledge is obsolete, what knowledge conflicts with another piece of knowledge in your knowledge base, and most importantly, do you know where your gaps are in your knowledge? And spoiler alert, this is where almost everybody struggles. You have a pretty good job of what you've written down. What you don't know is what you haven't written down. It's everybody's blind spot, right? So we want to give you some tools to discover policy drift, to discover conflicting guidance, to find out that compliance exposure when things don't match or are missing or are just flat old before they create risk for your organization. And those risks are manyfold, right? It could be actual compliance risk, like you tell someone something that's going to get you in trouble with the regulators. But it can also be as simple as annoying a customer, right? If a customer asks for something and here's two different answers from two different people in your organization, it's not going to engender a lot of confidence from your customer base. Okay, so we're going to give you tools to help you get the knowledge into a trusted system. We're going to help you and your team find those questions, answers easily and quickly. And we're going to help you keep your knowledge base up to date, out of conflict, and plug some of those gaps. So the last part here, which a lot of folks don't even think about, is that when we've done the first three, we've started to create an environment where we can analyze the behavior of your employees and customers as they access that data. And that sounds kind of funny, but it's an enormous amount of intelligence to be had to know what your folks are asking, when they're asking it, and what answers they're getting. So we want to give your management team, whether it's the manager of a branch or the top level C-suite in the customer experience space or the marketing space or even the CEO, to be able to spot trends and analyze patterns in how your knowledge is being consumed. Because if you know how your knowledge is being consumed, you know what people are doing, what people are asking, how your customers are interacting with you. And that's just gold. Okay, so uh, Turns out this is hard. There's a reason folks haven't just done it naturally. Uh, Most organizations consider it a victory if they just have stuff written down in the first place. So if we take those first three legs of the chair, knowledge capture, knowledge retrieval, and knowledge health, notice I have that kind of drawn in a circle because it is you capture knowledge, your folks use it, but that knowledge becomes obsolete over time or it becomes in conflict with other pieces of knowledge. Of course, regulations change, you add new products, you're never really done with any of this knowledge problem, right? It's that's why we call it the forever problem. I have never met the organization that wrote everything down and never changed anything, right? Because you're going to have new regs, you're going to have new products, you're going to have new leadership, you're going to have new ways that you do business, and the knowledge management system that your people are using to get their jobs done has to merge with it. So the question isn't if you're going to have problems in any of these spaces, it's where will you have them today? So you want to have a unified tool that is kind of having eyeballs on each phase of this knowledge problem at all times. Because let's say you're merging with another institution, knowledge capture is going to be a big problem for you right at the moment. Or if everything's running great and you're just scaling your business, meaning you're getting a lot more activity, you're having turnover with staff or just having to add staff, knowledge retrieval becomes your biggest problem. And to be honest with you, the knowledge health thing is a problem for everybody all the time, right? So we want to give you one tool so you can manage this all the time, 24/7, 365. All right. So you guys probably already understand what the benefits of doing this well are, but for completeness, let's walk through it. Anybody in your customer facing team is a no-brainer winner if you do this well. So we're trying to just drive faster, more accurate decisions and task fulfillment from your people for your customers. So I have a really cool metric that we learned about from our very first customer we rolled our AI tool out to. They had a classic Pareto split in their call center that 80% of the calls that came in, their agents were able to solve with knowledge out of the off the top of their head, meaning these agents were well trained, they had good experience, and 80% of the time they knew the answer to that customer's question or how to complete the customer's needed task. But 20% of the time they needed to go fish. What do I mean? They mean they had to go into whatever that knowledge system was, whether it was SharePoint or finding a document on the network drive, or God forbid, the sticky note behind Sally's desk, so they could get that question answered. And the in that 20% of the time, the average hold time the customer experienced was 10 minutes. And that sounds crazy long, but if you do call center stuff for a living, you know that's not really atypical. 10 minutes is the average. Sometimes it's worse than that. Sometimes it's, sorry, sir or ma'am, I'm going to have to call you back later. I don't know the answer. I'll get back to you. Click, right? That's the worst outcome. When we rolled out the AI-driven knowledge retrieval system, we were able to drop for the same financial institution, their average hold time went from 10 minutes to 10 seconds. So amazing, right? Now, before we get too excited, it's only a huge improvement on 20% of the time, but it moves the needle, right? Because a customer is never going to give you credit for answering questions faster. They will only punish you when you're slow. You guys know how this is how the world. We learned something really important. We had assumed that that 10 minutes was the employee searching and trying to find and then read that information to complete the task or answer the question. Turns out that wasn't really the case. What was really happening is the employee was waiting a couple minutes, trying to search on their own to try to find that information by themselves, getting frustrated, quitting, and then waiting outside their supervisor's office for them to get off the phone to ask them. And it turns out when we can provide the frontline users a repeatable, reliable tool to self-serve their own problems, we were able to drop their supervisor interruption rate by over 60%. And I want you to think about that for a second. If you've ever been the person where when an employee walks up to you and goes tap, 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 hey Pete, sorry to bother you again, but can you remind me, do we do international wire transfers? If you find yourself being the Wikipedia entry for your team, you know this is a real deal. So not only can we help the frontline users access the data faster for the customer, but we can relieve the supervisory layer from this labor that has no value in itself. Okay. So, next thing is this is kind of obvious training efficiency. So, if we can, instead of spending 2 weeks training employees how to do certain tasks by rote, and instead, all we have to do is spend an hour teaching them how to use the AI to find all of those tasks and processes and procedures themselves organically. Huge amounts of classroom training time that you can recover, not necessarily get rid of, but now you can spend it on the stuff that really matters, like culture and customer service skills, just to name two. And the thing we don't like to think about, but is real, is employee succession planning, right? So we need a trusted system to get that tribal knowledge out of someone's head into a system where everyone else can use it. Because God forbid that person who has all that tribal knowledge walks out the door today, and they take all that stuff in their head with them. That's about as worse as it can get for us. Okay, so what we're talking about is using AI as an operational control layer to take care of this capture problem, this retrieval problem, and this knowledge health problem. And if we bolt on the analytics on top of it, what we end up getting without really trying very hard is a continuous improvement path. And this is on the upper management point of view, what we always think about, how do we get better every day? It turns out we can give you this as a freebie even though you're usually hiring us to capture and retrieve this day-to-day information, if we can give you a tool to continually monitor not only your documentation itself, looking for those conflicts and gaps, but how your people are using it so we can help from a behavioral point of view, make your teams more efficient and productive, it's a win-win-win. And we want to be able to answer for you questions like, where is your operational load concentrating today, or this week, or this quarter? Where do your workflows consistently break down because people can't figure out how to do something to complete that task? Which questions and can your employees and customers not answer? This is the gap analysis we were talking about. And which departments or subject areas are most inefficient? And because we're going to be able to analyze behavior, and I'm going to show you all this in just a second here, we're going to be able to let you drill down not only to where your problems are, but specifically which subject matter areas are the problem or which departments in your organization are the problem. Because if you can see where the problems are, it's fixable. And of course, the real worry that we all have is if any of this goes south and people give the wrong answer to something, what is the financial, regulatory, or reputational impact of a bad answer from one of your employees? And so the goal here is for us to give you a single platform to manage all your institutional knowledge so everyone has fast, accurate, and consistent information forever, right? This is something that you're never, it's never going to go away. Okay. So here's a quick eye chart. You don't have to memorize this. Just want to let you see that we have many, many financial institutions that we work with and trust us of, various sizes and numbers of employees. And now for the fun part. Let me change gears here. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint and let's jump to a demo. This is the part that's fun. Okay. All right. What you're seeing here is our product. And we're showing you Golden Oaks Financial, the finest, very fictitious financial institution on the planet. So it's just our sample data, but we wanted to show you what it looks like when a real bank uses it. So if you look up here on the left, you'll see there's a bunch of KBs. KBs are just our shorthand for knowledge base, and a knowledge base is just a bucket of information. It's important to know that we can slice and dice your data so it's available as you see fit. So we might have an operations knowledge base that every employee in your org has access to. So that's every policy and procedure that any employee should be able to find. But we can also create other private knowledge bases, maybe for HR, maybe for lending, maybe for deposit operations, maybe for IT, where only certain uh, people can have access to that data. I won't spend too much time on that, but know that everything that I'm going to show you can be password protected, permissioned, and segregated by role or uh, job title, essentially. Okay, but let's just jump into it. I'm just going to jump over here and I'm going to ask a question that might really get asked. So I could either type my question, speak my question into the microphone, or because I'm lazy, I have some saved questions that I'm going to use here. So I'm going to ask, how do I post a wire to an account in our core? This is the kind of question we might really get in real life. So let's see what the AI has to say. So about the time it took me to read the question out loud, the AI has already answered it. And I get a beautiful answer. So what's happened behind the scenes is the AI has quite literally read every single document that you have provided to it. Our average financial institution customer usually provides between 500 and 1,500 documents. Those documents can be a single page rate sheet on wire transfer costs, or it could be up to, a 300-page core operating manual and everything in between. So what the AI does is it reads through every page of every document, pulls out the relevant information, and answers the question. It does it quickly and consistently. Important thing to know about our system is our system will only answer a question based on the data you have provided for your institution. The AI never goes to the internet. It never figures out how other people might do a particular task. If you ask it a question and you have not provided backup material to answer it, our AI will literally say, I don't know. That sounds kind of hilarious that I'm bragging that our AI says, I don't know, but I don't know is far superior to wrong. So just know that. So, okay, great. So I have got this very fast answer. Um, I now want to ask the even more important question of how do I know this is the right answer? Okay. So I'm going to click sources. Our AI is going to cite exactly which document or documents that it used to answer the question for your employee. So if I click on this, I'm going to go ahead and let it open. And what you'll notice here is the AI opened this document. You'll notice it's a 20 pager. It knew to jump to page 11 and highlight exactly where in the document it used or found the relevant passage to answer the question. So this is a huge step for two reasons. Number one, quality control. So if you're a subject matter expert on at your institution, and if the AI answers weird, like it gives a funky answer, your first impulse should be, where did it find that funky information? You're going to jump to the document of yours that it used to answer, and this is the first place you will find something that's obsolete or maybe incomplete or in conflict, where sometimes you could have two answers that are different to the same question. Now, flip the coin. The other reason this is really important is if I'm Pete the teller, let's say, and I started last week, I don't really know if this is right or wrong. The reason I'm going to click for more information is so I can see the underlying document to flesh out what I need to do to get my job done. And in this case, I might need to see these screenshots in the core system to know how I'm supposed to continue with the task. Let's not tell Pete, but we just trained him a little bit and he doesn't know it. The cool thing is I'm able to open this up regardless of where this original document came from. It may have come from our website, from our intranet, from SharePoint, from Google Drive, from network drives. It doesn't matter. Now my employees have a single pane of glass to ask and answer anything as long as it's backed up by the system. Okay. Let me just give some other examples. I won't go crazy with this. I just want you to get the idea. So I may ask, let's say, how much does a stop payment cost? That's really straightforward. I'm going to ask that straightforward question and get a straightforward answer. In this case, 30 bucks. Let's say I ask a little bit more complicated question, like what are the steps to close a CD? That may be the most common statistical question we get is how do I do X? And in this case, the AI is going to give me chapter and verse on how to close a CD. But I want you to notice something. It's going to give me a little nudge. It's going to say, hey, would you like instructions for manually closing a CD or information about penalties? Why, yes, yes, I would. So I'm going to say yes. Tell me about the penalties. And as it's answering, I want you to think about that. If I walked up to you in the hallway and said, tell me about the penalties, you're going to think I was talking about the national championship game on Tuesday, right? Because we don't know how to deal with stuff out of context, but the AI does. Notice it knows exactly what I meant about penalties, that I was talking about closing a CD before its maturity date, right? So the AI is one, going to suggest information that your employees might want to use. And it's also going to understand the context of the conversation. This is super important solely because it's just so easy to use. If I can teach your people to ask the AI questions as they would ask their supervisor, we're done, right? Problem solved. Fast, accurate, consistent answers. Okay. So if I get really crazy, I could ask something like, what ID is required to cash a check? But let's say the person in the branch doesn't speak English. I can say, hey, do me a favor and answer in Mandarin. So the AI is still going to get the information from your system on what ID is required to cash a check, even though you probably have it in English. It's going to answer me in Mandarin, and I'm even going to let the AI read it to me in Mandarin if I need to.
要在 Golden Oaks Financial 兑现支票，必须提供有效。
I won't make you listen to the whole thing, but know that we can do the translation both verbally and in writing, regardless of what language, probably English, all your content is in. So let's flip the script a little bit. So we just talked about how folks get answers to their questions. This is why most people hire us. But I want you to notice here, I went to the search Q&A report. I now have every single question and answer that we've asked of the system. We have who asked, when they asked, what department they're in, what the question was, what the answer was, and exactly which sources were used to answer the question across your org. We'll even have the AI tell us what kind of question it was. What was the subject matter? Which is great because we can go to our dashboards and roll up in a given time period. Hey, did you know that 9.1% of the questions that have come through your team are about lending and 8.3 are about compliance and regulation? The reason this is cool is as management, you really want to read every question and every answer every day. The reason you probably won't, though, is you have a day job. It becomes, if you have a decent sized organization, there may be 3, 4, 500 questions a day that your folks are asking. Just to give you an idea, one of our larger organizations just asked their 70,000th question of our AI tool because this has become just integrated into their day-to-day business. Now, as I mentioned, you want to read each one of these. There's so much kind of gold to get, but you don't have time. But the AI does have time. So I'm going to open what we call our Insights tool. And for any given period, I picked today, but I could have picked this week, this month, last quarter, it doesn't matter. And we're going to have the AI analyze for us what were the top 5 trends in the questions from your team? What patterns could we see? Who are the heavy users and what are they asking? And the biggest thing, analyze for us the unanswerable questions, meaning what could the AI not answer because there was no content that we could use to answer it with. This is the magic button for us to spoon feed you your gaps and the holes in your process. It's huge. Okay. So I know I've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to show, but I wanted to give you an idea of how we can use AI to really make this intractable knowledge management problem better. So I want to leave you with this. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen one more time just so we can leave you with some stuff. We are going to be, oh, sorry, I didn't share that. We are going to be at the ICBA, the Independent Community Bankers of America show in San Diego, I think, this year. In March, we're going to have a booth there. We welcome you to come and see us. I'll actually be speaking on the Saturday session in the Meet the Experts Depot. Love for you to come by and say hi. And if you just need to contact us, if you'd like a full demo, I gave you kind of the 15-minute crash course, but to really show you all the bells and whistles of the tool, we need a good hour. Uh, Please reach out to us. You can reach out to us via phone. You can send us an email or come to our website and book a demo directly. We would love to talk more to you. Uh, and so we want to thank you for this super fast 30-minute all about knowledge management and AI. We appreciate you. If you got to go, that's great. We're going to stick around just for a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. All right. If you guys have any questions, please shoot them over in the chat. Otherwise, we'll let you go. All right. Well, we're not seeing any questions. Understand it's a busy Wednesday, so we'll let everybody go. Please reach out if you have anything. We are always around. And again, thank you all for your time today. You guys be good. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.